We're gonna, oh, there we go. I had myself muted. Oh, all right. So lots of issues going on today on my end. My apologies. Let's go ahead and jump right into it because we've got a lot to cover today. Today is a training on the Racial Justice Prevention Plus Wellness Program. My name is Dr. Chudley Werwich. I'm president and founder at Prevention Plus Wellness, located here in beautiful St. Augustine, Florida. Thank you for joining us from across the country. We have a sold out session today. This is our most recent Prevention Plus Wellness program. It is the same in that of all of our other programs, in that it follows the same screening, feedback, goal setting format. It is therefore an evidence-based practice, and that is screening and brief interventions, evidence-based practice according to a number of federal and international groups, including the SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration. But having said that, Racial Justice PPW is quite a bit different than all of our other programs. All of our other programs are really focused on integrating the promotion of wellness behaviors, particularly physical activity, nutrition, sleep, stress control, with the avoidance of a particular substance, whether it be alcohol, primarily in the sport, evidence-based sport and in shape programs, whether it be cannabis in the marijuana prevention plus wellness program, e-cigarettes in the vaping PPW program, opioid use, obviously, in the opioid PPW program. All of those programs link those wellness behavior promotion with the avoidance of substance use. So they're integrated programs. All of them use screening brief intervention format. Then there's our, just to give you a little overview, then there's our In God's Image program. That's our faith-based program. That's a little bit different because not only do we address the avoidance of substance use and the promotion of wellness behaviors, particularly nutrition, sleep, and physical activity. But In God's Image also focuses on the promotion of spiritual habits. That's why it's our faith-based program. And then this is our most recent program, Racial Justice. How does this fit in? Because this program does not address directly physical activity, wellness behaviors, physical activity, nutrition, sleep, stress control, nor does it directly address substance use. So how does it fit in? It fits in because research is clear that racial discrimination, racism increases risk among youth and young and adults for health problems. And you'll learn more about that today in terms of health issues. Racial discrimination increases the probability of substance use, depression, school failure, a host of other things for adolescents. So because we're all about promoting wellness habits as well as preventing substance use, we came up with this very new program, very innovative. If you look at other racial justice programs, curriculum out there for youth, you'll see most of it is focused on attitudes and beliefs and knowledge. This is about behaviors. Like all of our programs, we're focused on motivating behaviors. And the behaviors, you'll see what they are soon, they're racial justice behaviors. They're anti-racism behaviors. And we hope that these behaviors will increase the wellness of participating youth and as well the community in which those youth live, as well as their schools and whatever setting that they're at. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Today's session is 1 hour. We will break at the end of it or before the end of it, hopefully, to leave a little time so you can have Q&A. For those of you that are viewing this as a recorded session, you could always send your questions and comments to us at our email address, which is info at preventionpluswellness.com, or you could always go to our website, preventionpluswellness.com, and in the lower right-hand corner, there's a message us, and you could click on that and communicate with us. So we will have time, and for those of you that are viewing today, we'll send you a certificate for 1 hour CEU. So thank you again for joining us. I know we have prevention and health specialists. people from faith-based settings, youth development, all kinds of different organizations across the country and abroad. Thank you for joining us for this. And this is a very, very popular new program from preventionpluswellness.com. This is a racism prevention program, and it does promote racial justice and wellness in the broadest sense for adolescents. So what you get if you're interested in implementing this particular program, like most of our programs, you will receive a physical manual, which has scripts in it for implementing your program to youth individually or in a group. And of course, we have now, for those of you that have been following us in our other webinars and other trainings, you know that we have protocols to provide this program and all PPW programs online, so that even in the midst of this pandemic, you can continue to get these critical evidence-based messages out to your young people. And we've got programs that target children, young adolescents, older adolescents, and young adults, the full developmental spectrum for young people. So your slides, which come with your manual in a digital download. So you get your physical manual with your scripts, you learn your scripts, you study them, you practice them, and then you're able to present them, glance down at your manual, focus on your youth, your individual youth, your group of youth, in person or online, and you could present this with your slides. Your slides and all reproducible materials come in a digital download, which you copy to your device for safekeeping. And so that's it. That's a single purchase. You don't have to come back and buy other materials for you as the instructor, the leader, the teacher, or you don't have to buy anything for your youth. Everything is in your digital download. So it's a very cost-effective program. And in the case of racial justice PPW, that's Prevention Plus Wellness, you also get a link to this recorded session. So you do save a little bit there, because our other programs actually have manual, and then the training is separate. So here we include a 1-hour training. That's what we're doing today. You're going to learn how to implement your program. And I know some of you are not going to implement it. Some of you will. Some of you are just online to find out a little bit more about it. In any case, you'll learn much more about the program. And if you do choose to implement it, you'll know how by following the content here. So your slides, your script, cue you as to what's going on, and we'll also cue the participating youth. So you can see, complete the racial justice wellness screening survey. All Prevention Plus Wellness programs have 3 components: screen youth for their current health habits, provide feedback on those health habits, walk them through goal setting to avoid the risky behaviors, and engage in the wellness behaviors. That's the same for this program as all of our programs, but the behaviors are unique. The behaviors in the racial justice PPW program are unique. Let's take a look at them. So if you're implementing this to youth in person, you'll actually have and can make copies from your digital download, reproducible materials. You can make copies of your racial justice and wellness screening survey and distribute it to youth and have them complete it on the survey. If you present this online, like we're doing today, we have built in the screening survey questions in the slide. So when you present this, if you do online, then you could have youth complete these items on a blank sheet of paper, any sheet of paper with a pencil or pen. So they're active, they're engaged. The purpose of this first step, screening, is to get youth to think of their health habits, their current behaviors. With racial justice, the focus is on behaviors associated with wellness and substance use. So the real behaviors that are the focus of racial justice are anti-racism behaviors, of which there are 4 key ones that we got from the literature, and then racial discrimination as well. So you got both sides of that coin: racial anti-racism, racial justice, and then the other side of that coin is a racial discrimination. So we're going to measure all of those. And after we walk you through this screening survey, you're going to present feedback, and I'll show you how that feedback is laid out. So here are the questions, as you can see them right here. This is the focus of the content of your program. And have you ever contemplated or thought about whether you have prejudices or stereotypes about people of a race other than yours? For example, and you can read along with me, believing that some racial groups are not like yours, or that they're not as good as good in some way. And then the youth answers yes or no. Very quick responses. So it takes only a couple minutes to implement this screening survey. So the first question is about contemplation, reflection, thinking about the issue of particularly racism in terms of prejudice and stereotypes. Question 2, have you ever observed the racial makeup or roles or jobs played by different races of people at your school, in your community, or in the media? And media includes TV, movies, magazines, online, or in social media, yes or no? So first question, contemplation, reflection. Second question, observation. Are they aware of their environment? Are young people aware of their environment, whether that be a physical environment or a virtual environment? All right, well, if you have questions, if you have comments, remember you could just type them into your chat option on this Zoom meeting. Or at the end of today's session, if you're viewing it and record it and send it to us, and I will answer those the best I can. All right, question 3. In the past year, have you read any articles, books, blogs, listened to any podcasts, radio shows, watched any videos, TV shows, movies, or socialized, hung out with, or became friends with a person from another race to learn more about racial justice or racism? So that third question is about knowledge, is about learning, is about growing. Has this young person or have these young people taken that step? And the fourth racial justice behavior, which is the focus of question 4, is have you ever helped combat racism in your school, community, or online? For example, joined a group advocating for the rights of racial minorities, volunteered for an organization fighting racial discrimination, or simply posted something online in favor of racial justice or against racism, yes or no? So that fourth behavior is action. It's actual taking action, taking a step toward and support of anti-racism and against racial discrimination. So those are the 4 anti-racism behaviors that are the focus of this. We think they encompass the major behaviors so critical to personal development and wellness, as well as wellness within a community setting in regard to racial justice. And that includes, one more time to review, the first behavior is contemplation, reflection, thinking about your own personal prejudices and stereotypes. Number 2, observation of your physical and virtual environment. 3, learning, growing, understanding in whatever formats, reading, viewing, listening, interacting with others. And then lastly, taking action to make a difference. The 5th question and the final question in the screening survey is a question about the other side of that coin, is about racial discrimination. Have you ever engaged in any racial discrimination behavior? For example, making fun of the appearance, accent, or names of others, using insulting language against people from other groups, telling jokes directed at other cultures, or favoring those from some races more than others, yes or no? So those are all the behaviors. That's the first part. You've completed the first part of the intervention. You've screened youth. You're following your script. You're showing your slides to that individual youth or that group of youth in person or online. And you've covered all the key racial behaviors. Now you're going to provide feedback. This is step 2 in the screening, feedback, goal setting format of all prevention plus wellness programs. Before you do that, there's a little bit of an introduction. We realize the need for some education in this particular area, perhaps even more so than in some of our other programs. So there's a really critical introduction here. You can see the content. You can see what the focus is. You could read along with me. None of us is perfect. We're all a work in progress. We need to reflect on our prejudices and stereotypes to become truly free that is, and healthy and compassionate people. So we have definitions here. Number 3, what is racial prejudice? It's holding attitudes and feelings towards someone simply because of their race, for no other reason. What stereotypes? That's under number 4. It's attributing a usually negative characteristic to an entire race. So now you have a definition, your youth have a definition and understanding of racial prejudice and stereotypes. We all have racial biases. This is a critical thing to understand because of the way we were raised in our society. Everybody has racial prejudice to some degree or not. It's not yes or no. It's a matter of degree. Many times these biases that we have, again, biases in terms of stereotypes or racial prejudices, are unconscious. They're unknown to us. So research supports this. So these are implicit beliefs. They're not conscious to us. We have them. Sometimes you'll have individuals that are well aware of their biases. Oftentimes we're unaware of our biases. And of course, the focus on bias today is on racial biases. So becoming aware of and replacing these biases, whether they're unconscious or conscious, increases personal and community wellness. That's the basis upon which this program is founded. So we're going to help young people understand their motivations and their biases better with this program. So you'll see that now in this feedback, now the feedback is beginning. You've screened them for their current racial, anti-racism and racial discrimination behaviors. Now you're going to provide feedback on each of those behaviors. So you can see here a repeat of the first screening survey question. Have you ever contemplated or thought about whether you have prejudices, stereotypes about people of a race other than yours, for example, believing that some racial groups are not like yours, etc. So you repeat that question, and now you're going to provide feedback. Now the feedback in Prevention Plus Wellness programs is typically in a 2-step process. First step, you're going to highlight benefits. Second step, you're going to show how the harmfulness of not engaging in that behavior or doing something opposing to that behavior. So here's the first step. Here's the first slide. Notice our slides, very positive, very inclusive. Young people, different ethnicities, different races, happy, healthy, sometimes engage in different happy behaviors, but for the most part, just together as a group. So what are some benefits then of thinking about, of reflecting on, of contemplating each of our own racial prejudices, stereotypes? You can see them here, a lot of benefits. So we're trying to highlight the benefits of again, contemplating our racial prejudices. And to the extent possible, we also use any kind of image terminology, which will increase an unconscious image of ourselves in the future. Being more present, socially engaged, curious, confident, kind, etc. You can see the terms in these items, number 1, 2, and 3. That increases an unconscious image of ourselves in the future, being a better person. That increases motivation for change. That's what we're doing here by presenting these benefits as well as these image terms which elicit unconscious desired future images of ourselves. And to the extent that young people say, hey, that's a value for me, then they'll be ready to set goals to improve their behaviors, in this case, their anti-racism or racial justice behavior. So you can see some of the positive content there. And then we have built in to some of these slides, as I said, educational material. We just feel that it's very important in this particular program, especially to educate youth so that all youth are on the same page with regard to what we know about racism, particularly in its relationship to health and well-being. So here's some great content. You can see at the very end, at the end of number 3, there's a source if you wanted to go to it. It's a great source, but just highlighting some statistics. Black students are more suspended and expelled from school 3 times more than white students. Median wealth of white households, 20 times that of black households, 18 times that of Latino, Latinx households. 7 in 10 blacks said they're treated less fairly than whites and in their dealings with police. So those are just survey facts. So, and so again, getting information out to young people that they may not have thought about, may not know about. Now, here's the second part of the communication. Remember the first part right there, benefits of this wellness behavior, which is thinking about and contemplating and reflecting on our own prejudices, stereotypes. Now, here's the harm caused if we don't do that, if we don't engage in that very important behavior. If we're, by not thinking of your racial prejudices, it prevents you from evolving into the best person you can be. So that's what we're all about at PPW. We want young people to develop fully into the very best they can be. You're denying yourself a chance to understand your inner motives. Not reflecting on your racial biases prevents you from living a fully free, healthy, and loving life, etc. So really good content here too. So highlighting the benefits, particularly the images, self-images of engaging in contemplating, reflecting on our prejudices. Here is what would happen if you don't engage in that, or the harm or the problems associated with not taking that step to be more aware of your prejudices and stereotypes. Then we have built in this program, Stop and Think, very important for two reasons. One, we want to have actually one primary reason in this particular study. We want youth to reflect on their own lifestyles, their own beliefs, their own prejudices, their own habits, etc. So we want them to stop and to think, and the best way to do that is to actually write down these things. So stop and think, and this is going to be in relation to contemplation. Number one, write down one or two specific racial prejudices or biases you have toward one or more races. Number two, write down some stereotypes you have for people of other races. So this may take some time, some reflection, and so stop and think at this point in time. So again, reflection on their own particular behaviors. Then you're going to provide feedback on the second question of that screening survey, which was, again, as you can see, have you ever observed the racial makeup or roles or jobs played by different races of people in your school, community, in the media? And so again, this question, whereas the first was about contemplation of your own inner biases and stereotypes, this is about, are you aware of your environment, physical and virtual environment? And so again, the question is yes or no, sort of forcing them in a dichotomy, but still increasing their awareness of their racial related behaviors. And now here are the benefits from engaging in observing and being more observant. So there's some great, so we say it's like being a racial Sherlock Holmes, includes being highly perceptive of the mix of people, of color in your school, in your community. You're highly intelligent and extremely observant if you identify these roles. Those are very important image terms, intelligent, observant. So those are very motivational in nature. And again, you've got this beautiful image to the right of different looking young people, happy, healthy, beautiful young people. And then this slide, some content again, some instruction. What is racial justice? Let's clarify that a little bit more. Not simply equity. Things can be equal, but still not fair. For example, number two, you can see there, schools with more racial minority students might need more funds than those with mostly wealthy white students. Racial justice is, and there's two parts to it. A, proactively reinforcement of policies, attitudes, and actions to produce equitable power, opportunities, and outcomes for all. And there's a source for that great content. So that's a great description of what racial justice is. Anti-racism is another term that we use for that. What is the harm caused if we don't start being more observant, or if we're not more observant of our physical and virtual world in relation to race? It means you could be actually sleepwalking through racism happening in your daily life. That could stunt your personal growth, limit your life experience, reduces social interaction, robs communities of talented people because we're not accepting them because they're of a different ethnicity, race, and so forth. And then stop and think. So we want the young people to stop and think about their observing their environment. And so there's the assignment, write down one physical environment that they want to observe racial makeup and positions for in the next week. Write down one virtual environment that they want to observe for racial mix in the next week. So that's the format. And so that's the sequence for which we provide this, the feedback to youth during this process. There's question 3, there's the benefits. Now we're going to learn a little bit about racial discrimination in health, harm caused from not learning about racial justice in blogs, in reading, in viewing movies and videos, etc. And stop and think about this topic of learning more about racial justice. And then the 4th question about taking action. This is the most difficult level of behavior. It requires the most. So we believe some of these previous ones are sort of a prelude to that, you know, thinking about their biases, observing your environment, learning more, and then acting. It's almost a sequential, you know, higher order of behaviors from contemplation to action, if you will. And here are the benefits of taking action to combat racism. Here's the harm if you do not take action. Stop and think about that. And then the final question is the flip side of that coin, which is actually racial discrimination or racism. Have you engaged in any of this in the past? Racism, and this is where a little content's a little different. Racism harms youth well-being. This is perhaps one of the most important slides and content because you're sharing with them, and from an educational perspective at least, you're sharing with them a meta-analysis of research that shows that racial ethnic discrimination among adolescents is linked to less health, harmed health, depression, psychological distress, poorer self-esteem, lower academic achievement, risky sexual behavior, substance use. That's why we're addressing this at preventionpluswellness.com. What is racial discriminatory behavior? Here's a list of 7 common racial discriminatory behaviors for young people so they can see the full range. And again, if you have questions, if you have comments, please write those in the chat section, or you could email those if you're viewing this in the recorded session. You could email them at info@preventionpluswellness.com. I know a lot of people want to respond. This is a very unique intervention with very, very unique content, and the focus is, like all of Prevention Plus Wellness programs, is let's get young people motivated and initiate behavior to improve their lives and the lives of their community and schools. So you can see, to be conscious, caring, connected person, avoid all racist behaviors. So notice those positive images that we're linking. You know, avoiding racist behaviors is good for being more conscious, caring, connected. Very, very powerful image evoking terms. And you can see they range from refusing to cooperate with certain individuals from another race to, you know, 7, committing physical assault and harassment. Stop and think about those racial discrimination behaviors you may have in your life and to change them. And now you're going to recommend some habits, some behaviors broadly to increase racial justice in their lives, in their community and schools, as well as improving their wellness and the wellness of their schools and community. So there are going to be all of these behaviors that we mentioned, racial justice behaviors that we mentioned. Number 1, increase contemplation, reflection about your own prejudices and stereotypes. 2, observe your daily physical and virtual environments. 3, learn more about racial justice and racism. 4, combat racism. Most importantly, pledge to avoid all racial discrimination behaviors in the next 7 days. So this is the 3rd phase, the 3rd step of our intervention. First step, screening. 2nd step, feedback, all the slides. 3rd step, initiating that behavior, increasing self-regulation, self-control skills, starting to shape their behaviors to improve and increase their racial justice behaviors in themselves, personal behaviors, as well as within their schools and communities and online. And that's what this is about. It's about action. It's about taking action, reinforcing that action, tracking it, and improving their behaviors over time. So this is the step: complete the racial justice, wellness, and wellness goal plan. You have an actual hard copy in your program. If you were to use the racial justice PPW program, it comes in your digital download. You can make copies. But if you present this online, you could just show these slides and have youth complete a goal plan on a blank sheet of paper. So they're going to select one of those racial justice behaviors: contemplation, observation, learning, action, one or two of those. Then number two, they're going to write a specific goal that's measurable and achievable in the next 7 days. And that's going to be 3, 4, and 5. It's going to be measurable. 3, it's going to be quantity. 4, it's going to identify frequency. 5, so they can easily observe it and track it each day for the next 7 days. Having them sign this document and you sign it, very important. Research shows that increases motivation for change. If you implement this online, obviously you can't sign it. You can have your youth have it co-signed by somebody in their home or in their environment that they trust. And then very, very important, post goal plan communication to increase motivation, to give them the instruction to post their goals, to track them every day, and to start that behavioral change process toward greater racial justice and wellness in their lives and in their physical and virtual environment. Let's take a look at the actual program manual. Those are the slides. That's what you'll get in your digital download. Here's the actual program. Racial justice is a physical program. Here's the content in your program. You have an introduction, step-by-step directions for implementation. You've got your screening survey and goal plan. Those are also obviously in your digital download, so you can make copies. You've got your program script. In this case, the script is limited to just for a group. So we're assuming that you're going to provide this to a group, either in person or online. We do have online protocols if you want to present this online or by video or even by telephone or in some hybrid fashion where you may be presenting it in person, but also streaming it live virtually. All of those protocols are available and are on our website, and I'll show you where you can get those. And that's for all PPW programs, but you could use them for this program as well. There's some evaluation materials, and then there's some racial justice resources in this brand new program that we've created just a month or two ago. So if we go down to the script, I just want to show you how the script works. We can take a look at the script. Excuse me. And the script is just that. The beauty of the script is you follow it. You practice it and you follow it, and it becomes very simple to ensure a program fidelity. Notice it's highlighted in yellow. This is the welcome section. It says show your slides. There's actually a couple introductory slides. And then here's your introduction. You say, hello, for the next several minutes, I'll be talking with you about an exciting new program called Racial Justice Prevention Plus Wellness, or PPW. Racial Justice PPW is a racism prevention program which promotes racial justice and wellness for adolescents. And together, we're going to look at how anti-racism actions can make you a more conscious and caring and connected young person. So, first of all, take out your copy of the Racial Justice Prevention Wellness Screening Survey. The purpose of the survey is to determine what you're doing about racial justice in your community. Your answers are private, to put your name on them. We want your answers to be secret. Please answer all of these questions honestly. And that's the screening survey, just 5 questions. And you could implement it in person using the actual survey. You can implement it online by showing your slides. And then you launch then after that into the introduction. As we said, there's some introductory content to add to that. So youth that are visual learners, they could see the slides and they could hear you as you present the script to them. And again, I said, if you practice the script 3-4 times, it becomes second nature. It's not that lengthy, almost becomes memorized. So you can glance down at your script, You remember it because you practice it, and then you could implement it. If you're going to implement your program, this program or any PPW program online, practice on your online portal, your online platform, so you're familiar with how to operate and do that. Then the feedback begins. The feedback, again, the first feedback highlighted in yellow, thinking about racism, racial prejudice, stereotypes. This is the contemplation, this is the reflection. You're going to show that first slide, which is a repeat of that initial question. Then you're going to provide feedback on the benefits of contemplating racial prejudice, stereotypes. There's the benefits. Then there's key facts. And then you're going to present, again, some information about what's the harm if you don't engage in racial contemplation of your prejudices and stereotypes. So you literally follow your script. The slides are there. You show your slides. It's a very, very easy, complete program, very fast moving, and yet you give youth a chance to stop and think. Stop and think about in the screening survey, stop and think about in those stop and think slides about each of those wellness behaviors, each of those racial justice behaviors, and even racial discrimination, and stop and think and set goals tailored to their interests, their needs, their values, because of how they see themselves more positively in the future engage in racial justice and making a difference in the lives of their lives as well as the lives of their peers. There is actually an optional second intervention. All PPW programs except one are single session screening brief intervention, but you have an option for a second intervention. Some implementers of our programs will focus, if they have an opportunity to meet with youth more than once, the second, third, fourth, fifth time, they'll focus on the goal setting, the self-regulation piece. What worked for you, what didn't work. Let's talk about our goals. Let's share our goals. Let's set goals for the next 7 days. And through that process, those weekly baby steps that are set will grow after a month or two into some significant change in their life. But they have to set goals that are measurable, identify the frequency, the quantity, and make sure they're achievable, small baby step goals. So we want to have young people have success. I'll show you where our online resources are here in a minute, but if you go down to the section on evaluation, you'll see we have a scannable evaluation form. We can also have this, we have it, or we can present it for you if you want on an online version. So if you present your lesson online and you want to implement your pre-test and your post-test, you just show them the link to the pre-test. So how does that work? Well, what you do is, let's say that you wanted to, well, let's take a look at the survey first. So here's your pre-test survey. It is assessing each of the screening survey behaviors. And so it's this measure happens to be a behavioral intention. It's the most highly predictive measure of future behavior. And the behaviors that are actually looked at here are each of those screening survey questions: contemplation, observation, learning, and combating, and whether they engage in any racial discrimination. So those are the 5 behaviors. And then there's also measures of social norms. How many people your age do they think engage in these behaviors? So it's just a very brief 2-page pre-test. Then the post-test, same measure. So what you would do is, if you want to assess the efficacy of your racial justice PPW program, you collect your pre-test before you show your first program slide. You collect your post-test. Immediately after the goal setting, you take your pre-test, put it on the post-test for each of your participating youth, put it in a box, put it in an envelope. When you're ready, scan it through any printer scanner, send us a PDF of it, and we'll run a free analysis for you. But let's say you're presenting your lesson online, we could send you a pre-test and post-test link. How does that work? How would you do that if you did your program online? All you would have to do is you would just go to chat. All you would do is you would pop up your chat option and download or show the pre-test link. Give youth a couple of minutes to click on it and complete it. Then launch your lesson. at the end of your lesson, at the end of goal setting, you'd show your post-test link in the chat box, have them click on it, and there you've got your pre-test and your post-test. And the beauty is we could send your organization a customized link just for your organization, so that when your youth complete the pre-test, post-test data, it's just for your organization. It's not shared with anybody else. So happy to do that. You could just email us at info@preventionpluswellness.com if you have this program, and we can send you a customized pre-test and post-test link for presentation of your racial justice PPW program online. The post-test also has 2 open-ended questions. You really want to encourage your youth to complete this, because these help fill in the gaps and enrich your quantitative data. Here's your quantitative data. This is qualitative data. You want to know how the program really affected them. That's question 3 in terms of racial justice behaviors, motivation, goal setting, self-esteem. And then question 4, how you might be able to improve implementing the program the next time you offer it. If you have any questions about any of this, you can contact us at info@preventionpluswellness.com, or go to our website, preventionpluswellness.com, and click on the message us link. Let us know how we can help you. We want to ensure, if you're implementing this program, that you implement it and have success, that your kids love it, that you have positive outcomes, and we're here to help you with that. Another tool in your evaluation toolbox is the instructor survey. This is available, I think, in all of our PPW programs. We highly recommend all instructors complete this self-assessment of their presentation skills and communication skills at the end of every lesson, or at least at the end of every week that they're presenting the racial justice PPW program. So for example, you can then are reminded or cued to assess your number 3, level of enthusiasm and passion when presenting the lesson. Hopefully you score yourself on the high end of the scale toward the 4. So very important. Enthusiasm, passion is critical to having this be an effective program, particularly when you present it as you're doing in a group, even more especially online, and especially if you have a large group online. You want to convey a lot of enthusiasm. Also, number 2, are you using active presenting strategies? Good eye contact. Notice I'm looking at you. Really online, I'm looking at my camera, and changing my voice, fluctuation, that kind of thing. That's what you're going to assess yourself. This instructor's survey, you should complete this at the end of every time you practice your script and every time you implement it to youth. Also, if you have a manager or supervisor, they could use this instructor survey as an observational tool, observational scoring survey to watch you implement it and score you, and then give you positive feedback and tell you how you can improve your implementation skills. So there it is, instructor survey, very important. You use that at the end of every presentation of your lesson. We even have a fidelity checklist. Okay, and then we have some racial justice resources as well. Now let me show you one more thing. I want to show you our website, where we have a good amount of resources for you, which will help improve and extend and expand and enhance your program. And they're located on our website, preventionpluswellness.com, and I am pulling up that page right now as we speak. And because my computer is a little bit slow today, my ability to grab onto that page is a little bit slow as well, but I'm able to do it. I'm doing it. I'm grabbing it. Just give me a moment. I'm almost there. I'm almost able to grab it. I'm hoping my Zoom will allow me to grab it, but at the moment, for some reason, it's not. So it's really slow here in responding. So let me just, while I'm trying to do that, let me just explain it to you. if you have access, you can go ahead and pull up our website yourself and take a look at it. But our web page again is preventionpluswellness.com. And the resources you'll see now, you can point your cursor at our homepage and you can look at all of our programs and all of our training if you're interested. But the majority of the resources are listed under the tools header. That's TOOLS. And if you point your cursor at the tools header, what you'll see is a whole list of free resources. So the first link is going to be the COVID-19 resources. There's an online training there. There's the protocols for providing your program online, either live or by video or by telephone, or even by this combine the situation where you may be presenting it live in person and then streaming it to other youth at the same time. All those protocols are under the heading of tools, COVID-19 resources. After that, there's promoting your program. There's a whole bunch of tools for promoting your program. There's brochures, there's flyers, there's certificates, all kinds of free things. Under that, you'll find a whole bunch of other stuff as well. Now, let me say one thing. We do allow, and to a certain extent, even encourage organizations to tailor their program. So if you think that some of the images in the racial justice PPW program don't reflect the population demographics of your group, then you're welcome to switch out those images so that youth that you present the racial justice PPW program see images of themselves. Now we have, again, as you saw the slides, there's a great mix of different both genders, different ethnicities there. So you really got to cover, but let's say your population was mostly Caucasian, mostly Black, mostly Latino, Latinx, then you could switch them out to reflect that. If you wanted to add a little extra content, fine. Whatever you do, send us whatever changes you're going to make to your PowerPoint slides, including, by the way, if you choose to co-brand the first slide or first slides, maybe use your organization's name, maybe use your organization's colors. You're welcome to do any of this. Send it to us first at info@preventionpluswellness.com. We want to see the changes. We want to give you feedback and to ensure that the model is intact and that it could be effective for you, but then also so we learn from you and we could share what you're doing with others on our website and on our social media. So that's all under tools as well. That was actually a section of program tailoring. There's a section of program evaluation. On the very bottom, there's health lifestyle guidelines, healthy lifestyle guidelines, PPW youth and teacher resources, a ton of things for you to take a look at. All of that is on our website, preventionpluswellness.com. And finally it shows up. There it is. And there it is after all this time. There's our website. And there's the tools I was talking about. Here's our programs. If you want to look at all the programs, here's our training. Here's our news or blogs. And here are the tools, including all the things I talked about: COVID-19 resources, promoting your program, tailoring your program, evaluating your program, and down on the bottom, some healthy lifestyle guidelines and teacher youth resources. All of that is available to you. All right, I'm going to stop at this point, and I'm going to see if any of you have any questions that you'd like to ask or have any comments that you'd like to make.